Greetings, family. Welcome again to another episode of the First Class Church podcast. I'm Dr. Timothy Farmer, and welcome again to the studio. This episode is being brought to you by Farmer Tech Group. If you are not subscribed to the First Class Church podcast, please do so today on YouTube. And be sure as you subscribe that you click the bell to stay connected not only to this episode, but many episodes to come. I am excited to be in the studio with none other than the senior pastor, the great senior pastor of the St. Philip AME Church, none other than Dr. Anton Elwood. Greetings, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Farmer. Thank you for having me here today.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, and certainly a blessing to have you here, and I'm excited about all of the great things that you're doing in ministry. Your reputation precedes itself, even here in Atlanta, and all that you've been doing in ministry over the years. So certainly a blessing to connect with you and look forward to the great things to come.
100%, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. The Reverend Dr. Anton G. Elwood Sr. is the senior pastor of the St. Philip AME Church in Atlanta, Georgia. He is a graduate of United Theological Seminary in Ohio, where he received his Doctor of Ministry degree. He is a fellow graduate of the Interdenominational Theological Center, and he also served as pastor of the New Mount Zion AME Church in Tallahassee, Florida, where he hails and served there for 15 years. And he is married to Shawana,
Yes.
Shawana Elwood, and they are the proud parents of a daughter, Kaylin, and a son, Anton G. Elwood II.
Yes.
And he is a member of the greatest fraternity. I'll say it again. The greatest fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Again, what a pleasure to have you here.
100%, man. And good to be here with a fellow frat brother.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. To all of our Divine Nine family out there, certainly blessings to you on this episode of the First Class Church podcast. So we'll get right into it. A lot of great things I want to highlight with the things that you're doing in ministry, as we all strive to be first class and strive for ministry excellence. So just tell us about your role and your journey in ministry up until your current role as a senior pastor of St. Philip, and some of the things that you like to highlight in your trajectory in ministry.
Okay. Well, I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Okay.
I'm born and raised in New Orleans in the Baptist church. And I went to undergrad.
I can tell you got a little Baptist in you.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to undergrad at Bethune-Cookman in Daytona Beach.
Okay.
And it is there where I accepted my call to ministry, actually my freshman year. Initially, I had gone back home to preach my initial sermon at my home church. When I got back, staying in Daytona through the summer, my connected church there was the Allen Chapel AME Church. And, my pastor was a strong guy, very influential in my life. And, I kind of switched over to the African Methodist Episcopal Church and been serving there, of course, here ever since. Once I graduated seminary, I was appointed to my first church for about 6 weeks.
Wow.
The Mount Olive AME Church in Orange Bend, Florida. Only about 6 weeks, and we had gone to the planning meeting and clearly
that sounds like a big city.
Yeah, huge. I'm telling you, the population is just booming.
Yeah.
Of mosquitoes. Not people.
Right.
But yeah, we served there for 6 weeks. It was actually a great 6 weeks, and went to the planning meeting and didn't have any idea I would be moved. And I got moved. If you all know anything about African Methodism, we get moved. And so I went and served in South Florida for about 3.5 years. I had asked the Lord, please don't send me to Tallahassee, whatever you do. I didn't want to be in North Florida. Coming out of seminary, it's Florida. You can be in Orlando.
Sure.
You can be in Miami. You can be in Tampa, all of these great places. God, don't send me to Tallahassee. And after serving in South Florida for 3 years, I said, okay, God, wherever you want to send me is just fine, even if it's Tallahassee. And the Lord sent me to Tallahassee. Yeah. So I served at New Mount Zion AME Church for 15 years there. A bit of backstory, full disclosure. Our rival school is Florida A&M University from Bethune-Cookman. rival schools. So it's a lot of back and forth. We were kind of bred not to like FAMU Rattlers no matter what. And so I got sent to the den of Rattlers.
So to the Rattlers out there, please still subscribe to this podcast. Please do. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so went there, and man, it ended up being just holy ground for me. It's holy ground today for me. Tallahassee is. It's a wonderful place, wonderful people. Served there for 15 years. The church grew astronomically. We were in 3 full Sunday morning worship experiences there before the pandemic. And, we were able to kind of touch the hearts of a generation, especially at a time when individuals saying, millennial was the buzzword.
Yeah.
And we were touching millennials at a time when people saying that millennials don't go to church anymore, when people were saying that. So we had that privilege. We served that congregation with all of our heart. And today, if I started there in 2008, you think about that time. Now those individuals have families. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're business owners. They're doing everything to influence culture and society literally all over the world.
Wow.
God has blessed me tremendously. There's not a city that I can go in that I can't find someone there who was blessed by our ministry in Tallahassee.
Wow.
Yeah. So after 15 years, God then now moved us to Atlanta. St. Philip AME Church. We've been there almost 2 years now. And God is just doing amazing things. Different generation, it's been a challenge to try to minister to individuals who were trying to make it in Tallahassee to now a totally different generation who have made it and then some.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. And St. Philip is a staple ministry here in Atlanta, Georgia. And certainly, as I watch your ministry, you are continuing to serve that ministry well and do great things in the Atlanta community.
Yes.
So with being in ministry a long time, serving as a pastor for 15 years in Tallahassee, and even now you've had a great sense of longevity, what advice for new pastors who are coming into ministry in a leadership capacity as a senior pastor in a role that in many cases certainly is a challenging role, and in your experiences, what would you say has been the thing that has helped to sustain you in ministry? What advice would you provide to a pastor who might be looking at this episode, who might need some encouragement, or who want to pursue that, even if they're not in that capacity? What would you say to them to help encourage them along the way?
Well, it's the concept that Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
We try to rush, especially this generation of individuals coming in. They automatically think that if they're there, then their connection with God is determined by how well the church is doing or not doing.
Sure.
And so, I think a lot of times we think it's always going to be this boom of individuals when you walk into your first church, that the church is going to grow like wildfire.
Wow.
And if it doesn't grow like wildfire, then you're a failure.
Something's wrong. Yeah.
Or something is wrong, or maybe I didn't hear God. It takes time. You have to make sure you have the right people around you. You must make sure that you have the person with the weight of words in your life close to you, because the weight of words, that person that can make you feel like you can run through a wall if you have to, that person that always can build you up with what they say. You have to have that person close, because the ministry journey is a tough journey. And I want to almost submit that it's tough for everybody. Some people think they look at certain personalities in ministry and they look at them and say it wasn't as tough for them, but you would be surprised.
You never know.
If you just listen to the stories. Most people have gone through a whole lot more than what you ever could imagine in ministry. So I would take the time to tell this new pastors coming in, take a deep breath, work on your gifts. Yeah.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. Work on your gifts. Sharpen your gifts. Because all of us have them, and it's not just about having them and pushing them out, but it's about making them stronger.
Sure.
I always say, as a world traveler, for the person that can see something different in the text than what anybody else has. These texts have been being preached for years. What are you going to bring to the text? What are you going to show in the text that we just haven't seen before? And I think that's important. Study, take your time, stay off of social media from the perspective of allowing it to culture your ministry so much that you forget some of those old rudimentary things are the things that really make you worth watching in the first place.
Or allow it to stress you out
Yeah.
from what you see others doing. To your point about it might not have been as hard for this person based on the perception.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer that a facade can only go so far.
100%. And camera angles.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I can always make a sanctuary look packed and full, depending on where I shoot from.
Sure.
And here you are judging your ministry based on someone who just has great camera angles. You know,
And you never know. Just like when you watch an award show, if you're actually there in person, it looks a whole lot different from what you see on TV.
And this person that is hired to warm up the audience, you know, the comedian that is there at the award show to warm up the audience first. And here you are wondering why your people are so, but there are people who are designed to make sure it looks a certain way. And so again, we can get back and forth into that all day, but I just think from a ministry perspective, you know, keep these things in mind that it takes time, it takes will. You have to clock in. You got to show up for work. You have to put your hours in. You know, and it takes the time to mature in the ministry that God has given you.
Indeed. And so with ministry constantly changing, it's evolving, even from the pandemic. You spoke to how things evolved for you with how things were changed during that particular time. And so what that did for a lot of pastors, especially those who were seasoned pastors, it forced many of them to find a way to navigate the space of 21st century ministry.
Definitely.
And so in navigating that, there has, even with in Atlanta, in a heavily ministry driven city, many senior pastors who've been in ministry for a long time, unfortunately became disillusioned, became challenged, became frustrated, and still endured that frustration as the pandemic or COVID-19, us being in quarantine and not having in-person worship even thereafter, still struggle. So in transitioning to Atlanta and serving St. Philip, how has 21st century ministry still maintaining a sense of excellence? How has being 21st century minded supported your work in helping to maintain and grow the ministry?
Yeah, well, we have to expand the curriculum. That's what it boils down to. Even in seminary classes, we can exegete text. We can go through all of the things we need to do with parish administration. A part of expanding the curriculum in parish administration for me is understanding technology. You have to do it in a major way. You will not be successful in ministry in this time frame if you don't understand technology. You have to understand cameras. You have to understand what a video switcher is. You have to know what lighting is. And it's amazing. You can spend thousands of dollars on cameras, but if you don't have the right lighting, you're wasting your time.
Can you say that into the camera?
You can spend thousands of dollars on cameras.
Listen clearly.
But if you don't have the right lighting, you're wasting your time. It's important to understand that. And there'll be many that will say, why? But without it, we're at a loss. Without it, I have this thing even in a workshop where I teach about preaching on microphones on bad sound systems. How many revivals have we gone to in places and the sound system is terrible? Pastor Jasper Williams has this funny clip about, hey, sound man, take a break. Leave it alone. Get it where I got it. Let me preach to these people. We are, my assistant will say that we are vocal athletes. That it is important that we understand how important your voice is and what it means. Exercise, breathing, all of these things that we just really don't take into account that's important for the longevity of our ministries.
Yeah.
So once we understand that, once you get this temple together, then you have to understand your environments. Okay, the word is going out. You're going out on social media to thousands of individuals, but everyone else is as well. So if you're sounding right, if your lighting isn't right, if it's too dark, if they're trying to make it out, they'll, with the flick of a thumb, they're on to the next service.
And with sound, lighting, and video, the benefit of being online and how the pandemic it has caused the playing field to be leveled,
Yes.
to ensure that more ministries have the capacity. There are more resources, there are more tools, there are more books out there
Yes.
to help with understanding sound from a practical perspective, not necessarily an intimidating way, a technical perspective, but now there are ways to ensure that from small ministries to large ministries, there is a way for sound to be optimal online and for the pastor to save his or her voice.
Right.
I was recently during an install talking to a pastor, a retired pastor who's serving in an interim capacity.
Okay.
And he was asked by some of his colleagues, you pastored for over 40 years. How come you still have your voice? And he responded, because I always advocated for a quality sound system.
Wow.
So that way weekly he was not struggling and straining
Right.
during the preaching moment because there was good support. So things like that are important as it relates to what you mentioned as far as technology and understanding, and for seasoned pastors to know, hey, it's not just a click of a button.
Right.
Not just a click of a button, but there's a process.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely
Yes.
a process.
And that's challenging. I think budgetary constraints also play a factor.
Sure.
I kind of have this line where I say, where if you don't have the budget, develop the skill, and allow the skill to eventually create the budget. My very first time trying to do a commercial, I sought a company. This was maybe 25 years ago now. It was astronomical. We could not afford it. And so I said to myself, well, I need to learn how to do this myself. So I developed the skill. Well, who knew that a day would come where the church was shut down for years, and we could not attend in-person worship? But because I took out the time to develop the skill, I learned how to edit. I learned how to do different things with video. I learned about Final Cut and all of these different things that are offered Adobe that are out there. Once I developed the skill, I was able to facilitate an environment through a global pandemic that facilitated the church still moving forward. Without that skill, we would have been stuck.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's just not enough video media people out here. They can only do so many churches. They can only do so many things. So I believe the men and women of God in this season, especially the new ones coming along, need to develop the skill.
And to extend that even further, I would even suggest that I think that, and I'm an advocate for ensuring that seminarians graduate with practical skills in addition to the theological education to help them sustain their ministries, because in many regards, they're going to walk into congregations and they are the media team.
That's right. That's right.
Even from a musical perspective,
Yeah.
they're going to walk into congregations and they are the praise and worship leaders.
That's right.
So how can, from a seminary education standpoint, make sure that when they leave, they know the basics of AVL, audio, video, lighting, knowing how to do a basic commercial, knowing that, hey, when you do a commercial, you need to wear a mic, so that way we don't hear the room. So, definitely that. And so certainly applaud what you've done in terms of understanding the skill and learning the skill, to not where you are at the point where a pastor will have to, go back to school or get a degree, but at least know what it takes in order to understand, even for churches that do have the budget, understand, hey, if I'm putting out a request or if I have a vision, I know that vision to unfold has steps and it has a timeline. I have to understand when media team members say, hey, we really need this time instead of this time, and understand what actually goes into that.
Yeah, Joel Osteen at a conference let us know that he still did his own editing. Joel Osteen with as many members as Joel is. Well, that's what he did as a part of being in his father's ministry. But he was clear that he had a certain thing that he was going for, and he wanted to make sure that it still went out in that way. So with being as busy as he was, a part of his day-to-day operation was to make sure that the editing was right in what he was putting out to the world.
Sure. Yeah. I'm a advocate for the pastor being a part of the media team.
Yeah.
Even from a leadership perspective, and ensuring that the media helps to provide the best reflection of the church as possible. And so to that end, with the pastor being a part of the media team, whether hands-on, directly or indirectly, from your perspective, what is still important around technology to still maintain the spiritual connection to the worship environment, so that it's not just all the bells and whistles, but we're still connected to that divine moment?
Yeah, which is tough. It's tough to facilitate that environment. Roaming cameras, for instance.
Yes.
Jibs.
Yeah,
yes. All of these things that mother is mad because
they're moving during the prayer.
There's too much
Lord
going on around
forbid
here. Yes.
That the scripture is being read and a big gadget is moving in front of me.
Moving in front of us, exactly. Without understanding that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals, not just in the city where you're in, but all around the world, that this is their congregation at this time. The message has to be proclaimed. And it should be proclaimed in a way that will bless mother who's in the building, but also bless the thousands of others that will never set foot in the building.
But yet that camera gives them that same vantage point.
That's right. That's right. And then also the training that goes into that for these individuals who 9 times out of 10 in our churches are volunteers. Okay. They're learning as they go. But they've been watching television for years. They've been watching award shows for years. They've been watching movies for years. So you understand getting a shot more than what you think you do. You just don't understand being in the seat in order to get the shot. So that person that is on that video switcher on Sunday morning has to be anointed.
They have to be anointed.
They have to know what they're doing.
Those fingers have to be connected.
That's right.
To the spiritual move.
And this is a 2025 conversation because 20 years ago, we would have never been having, we would have talked about musicians. We were talking about praise and worship, the praise leader, or even the dance ministry, how important that is. We treated the sound person like the vendor that they were, or the media person like the vendor that they were. We waved to them on our way out the door, and we barely spoke to them. But now in 2025, we give them a hug.
Give them a hug.
We say thank you.
Yes, indeed.
We appreciate you. I also want to suggest that NIL is important. Name, image, and likeness in 2025, even in ministry. They're watching every single thing. And sound bites. Think about Dr. Jeremiah Wright years ago, a sound bite, and what it did to a presidential campaign. Think about all of the things that happen in ministry now. Sound bites are taken and put out in a moment's notice because everybody wants to go viral. So, Pastor, if you believe what you believe, we'll find out.
Sure.
And you have to stand on what you believe.
Stand on it.
Yeah. So I'm really big with my team about what gets put out from a clip perspective and all of these things because I want to protect my NIL. You know, I want to protect that, and I believe it's important that we do that as well.
Yeah. And whether pastors or preachers realize it or not, every sermon title is a hashtag.
That's right.
Whether you create it as one, it's already a hashtag.
That's right.
So when they search for it, they're going to find it.
That's right.
It's going to come up.
Yeah.
So to your point, likeness, image, quality plays a role, and intentionality.
Yeah.
Making sure that there is thought behind that which is put out, even from a sermon perspective, because again, sound bites can be a blessing, but then they can be taken out of context.
Completely.
Yeah, indeed. So speaking of culture and how the worship space is evolving, both in person and online, how in your perspective, as we're in 2025 and moving forward, what do you see that ministries need to be more cautious about, or need to be, back to the word intentional, be more intentional about in terms of helping to grow a ministry, both from in-person visuals and virtuals who are online?
Yeah. Well, you have to know that the comment section is real. And so, again, even in a secular space, not allowing the comment section to drive your mood or what you're putting out. You have to really be intentional. You have to be secure. You have to stand on what you believe, and you have to know what you're talking about. because it will be challenged, and everything that you say will be challenged. And I had this viral clip about playing spades. Well, hey, why is the preacher playing spades? Why the preacher playing cards? This was the comment section. And then you had others that were stepping up and saying, in 2025, you use whatever example you can in order to make the gospel plain for individuals to receive. It has to be palatable, has to make sense. It has to connect. Yeah.
And you look like you can play.
Oh, yeah.
Spades.
I went to an HBCU.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you probably played in a few tournaments.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And to that end, you'll be surprised what that will do and how that will connect with people in order to bring them to the fold.
Right.
Even, being in ministry for many years, I was at a meeting and was having a frustrating day, and it was a game night. And one of the games was Bid Whist.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And there was a pastor who taught me how to play Bid Whist. And I said, you know what? I want to go to a church where not only can you get the word, but the pastor can teach you how to play Bid Whist.
Oh, you're going to get put out. But no, I think it's important. Relevant is one thing. Being Christ-centered is the order of the day.
Indeed.
Right. And everything that we're trying to do, we want to be Christ-centered. We push the envelope a lot, but even if you're going to push the envelope, I think you ought to push it to the perspective of reaching and not trying to go viral. I believe the most viral moments were by accident.
Yeah.
They
authentic.
Yes, they weren't trying to go viral. When you start allowing that culture to drive what you do in an effort to go viral, then that's when it becomes a problem for me personally. But like you said, authentic, just being who you are. People want to connect with what's real. They want to connect with what's authentic. They want to laugh at something that wasn't designed to be funny, but it just
in many cases they're not going to laugh.
If it wasn't for a phone, it wouldn't have been caught.
Right.
Yeah. So I believe that's from a comical place and also a very cultural place, because think about the things that have happened in Black culture that without a camera being present, the world would never know.
Never know.
It has literally driven what's happened in this generation.
Yeah. And even in generations prior, one of the things I had an opportunity to study in seminary was the evolution of television ministry from its beginning to now, and even before television, but just multimedia's place in ministry, thinking back to Reverend C.L. Franklin.
Yes.
And his radio ministry.
100%.
And growing up, going to church on Sunday mornings and watching BET and seeing G.E. Patterson.
Yes.
And how his ministry helped to set the course for many others who would ultimately have a television broadcast. Yes. I remember every Sunday morning him ending his broadcast, G.E. Patterson, that's Gilbert Earl Patterson, P.O. Box,
right.
Memphis, Tennessee.
That's right.
And so
I think it was P.O. Box 1.
P.O. Box 1, yes. And that's stuck with me as it relates to ministry and how now, as far as ministry, you can go live on an iPad or in a full studio in order to bring people who would never see your ministry to the world. And even in his death, that ministry continues to thrive.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's a salient point because, C.L. Franklin, as you referred to, that radio program, and probably one of the first to have albums in a store, the Eagle Stirreth the Nest. Yeah. I think, that was powerful and beyond its time, but before its time, to do something like that and to watch the individuals that you named that really kind of cultured church in a way. We were able to see church differently. We were able to capture the mega church. Frederick Price, of course, when Bishop T.D. Jakes came along and just took it over and did amazing things. Rye Parshall's camp meeting. Carlton Pearson's Azusa. These
Creflo Dollar.
Creflo Dollar. We were able to see these individuals, what we used to call tail evangelists. I grew up in, of course, Louisiana, so we had Jimmy Swaggart.
Oh, sure.
Grandest TV all day long was on PTL. Jim and Tammy
Faye. You're telling your age now. You're telling your age, yeah.
So
Bishop Paul Morton,
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
growing up watching his ministry on
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah, and so even Bishop Joseph Walker now kind of has this workshop where he goes through that time frame where we went from the televangelists and how popular they were to the conferences. You remember when conferences were the thing? Like you had to go to a conference. You wanted to go to Dominion Camp meeting. You wanted to go to Full Gospel Baptist Church conference. You had to be at Woman Thou Art Loose and one of those things at that time. So, the evolution of these things are powerful. I think in our minds in 2025, we need to understand, as you mentioned, we are now them. We are those individuals. It's just moved from television and radio to a computer screen and a phone. We're them.
We are them.
And if we take it to that understanding, you are now, and maybe we need to coin a term in some sort right here on this platform, because we can't say televangelists anymore, but we're all evangelists in a way because we're able to do it at a high level, at a high clip every week. Because of social media, because
with
of the internet.
Tools that are right at our fingertips.
Right at our fingertips. And in some cases, free.
And yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to kind of say this because I don't want you to get caught up on budget so strongly that you forget that even used equipment still works powerfully for your ministry. You would be surprised at how many churches, when they have that mindset, they understand after about a year or two, that stuff is now old. So now they move all of that equipment out and bring new equipment in. Well, it's old to them. It's smack brand new for you.
Certainly could be a blessing.
Oh, it could be a major blessing. Yeah, so sometimes, you just have to have the right relationships and ask the right questions, because there are churches that are looking for ways to donate their equipment to others to be a blessing to the world.
Indeed. And in donating that equipment, it gives an opportunity for volunteers to learn as their ministry grows, as they develop the budget to get things that are new, at least, because in many cases, the basics of the equipment doesn't change. Right. Some of the features might change, but the basic usage is pretty much is the same.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. So with pastoring St. Philip AME Church, a mainstay, a staple in the community, and it has a rich tradition in the AME Church. And as you bring innovation and bring that which you've done with technology over the course of your ministry to that space, how do you balance tradition and innovation? I know we talked about culture shifts with cameras moving and things like that, but even in addition to that, how, in terms of maintaining a healthy intergenerational congregation, what are some ways that you balance innovation and tradition to have a rich ministry that everyone can be a part of?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say that that's tough. It's no easy task. I think a lot of times, we kind of talk in terms of we give the steps and we maneuver like it's easy. No, that's tough. It's a tough environment to try to make ready for individuals to receive it from that light. Most of the time, the scriptures say, in the last days, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. Please know that a person of a certain generation, all they can do is dream dreams. They're not necessarily looking forward to the future. They're only looking to give God praise for the past. Back then we were able to, you know what I'm saying? And they did all of the things to build the church where it is now. And that has value. That has become antagonistic, and it never should have been.
Wow.
It should have been a powerful relationship. My very first Sunday at St. Philip, I said, what is going to be should not offend what used to be. Wow. They work in concert with each other. I think once we get to that place where we can get the visionaries and the dreamers together and understand, dreamers, we're not pushing you all out. We love you, and we thank God, because without you, there would be no this, right? And then the visionaries, they come in and they say, well, we're going to take this and not erase it, but we're going to build on what we have.
And bring you along as a part of the process.
As a part of the process. I know you may not feel comfortable sitting in front of a camera, but we don't have as many. The scribes now are not writing, they're recording.
They're taking pictures.
They're taking pictures. And you think about the civil rights movement. People were hired to take pictures. Was it Gordon Parks?
Gordon Parks,
yeah,
yeah.
were hired to take the pictures. Every person that served in the White House had an official photographer. Without these people, we would not have had any. The dogs that we see captured, that attacking the Edmund Pettus Bridge, the black and white cameras that were there, we wouldn't have any of this stuff if it wasn't for technology. So it's always been here.
It's been here.
It's just evolved.
It has evolved
in a major way. And so, Mother, we need you to know that chicken prices are high now. Eggs are astronomical. So a lot of chicken built a lot of churches. The message has moved in 2025 and before now to sowing and giving and understanding that if you give and you sow, that can do the same work. And we can save some of that energy that you were using to fry that chicken to help the next generation that's coming along.
And we can still use the chicken.
And we still love a good piece of fried chicken. Lord knows we do.
and also to that is, as a part of bringing them along, find something in technology that brings a common thread.
That's right.
One of the greatest blessings in seeing technology help seniors is empowering them not only to use it, but empowering them to teach their peers.
Yeah.
Putting an app on Mother's phone and she telling the other mother's board how this app does this, that, or the other.
Right.
Oh man, that's a great blessing to see that. And then for them to have one up on someone younger than them. Yeah.
Well, and also bridging that relationship. I believe one of the things that can take a buffer away from a mother and her grandchild is to ask the grandchild to come in here and teach me how to do this. Our kids come out knowing how to work iPads and cell phones now. That's how they come out now. It's the standard.
It's the standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to bring this person, and I love to have senior members come to me and say, I'm going to get my grandbaby to show me how to do this, because they want to do it. It's just, trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And that helps with, like you said, the relationship and making sure that intergenerational connection stays together.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And so, and with that, and helping to develop senior technology ambassadors, that keeps the younger generation connected, and it makes, in both regards, there is an opportunity to evangelize.
Yes.
There's a discipleship moment that's a part of that, because the senior member or the mother or the grandmother or grandfather, they're going to have nuggets of wisdom that can be shared.
Yes.
And connecting them to what took place during their time, such as what you mentioned about how, technology evolved.
Yes.
Because I even hear my parents talk about, or even in our house, we had 8 tracks.
Yeah.
And we had, I know you're too young to.
No.
Yeah. 45.
I know what a 45 is. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
That's how we know the music that we know now. That's why we can quote the lyrics. Because, and grandma was watching PTL, but mom and daddy was listening to Temptations, Marvin Gaye, and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
So that's how we know the lyrics that we know. It's beautiful to see, but we also just have to understand that most things now have a shelf life. Technology has a shelf life. The way that we receive our music, it has a shelf life. They're always trying to find a new thing. Of course, AI is not, everybody keeps saying AI is coming. No, AI is here and moving forward.
I'm so glad you said that, because that was where I was going. So you're already there. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you could speak more to AI's place, is here to stay, and how the church can embrace what AI can do.
Well, and let's embrace the emotion of, again, it can be scary. It's a scary thought. I went to a conference that suggested that AI is not a replacement, but it's a tool. In my first mind, I thought it was a replacement. AI should never replace your study pastor. You should use it as a tool. It's no different than some of the softwares that came out. We use it properly. It's at our fingertips. You train it, you teach it, you talk to it. Sometimes I have conversations
with it,
with my AI, just to try to train it on who I am and help it to understand my language and how I want to put things out. But also just seeing it for what it is. An 8-track right now. If you give a senior an 8-track right now, they wouldn't know what to do with it.
No.
There's nowhere to play it. You may find something on Amazon.
And they, quiet as it's kept, they might not know what to do with a CD or DVD.
A CD or DVD at this point.
At this point,
like you said, we're dating ourselves.
Yeah.
But that's the beautiful thing of seeing these evolutions, of being born of being at a certain age right now. We've been able to see a few things come and go. The CD, the clarity of the CD was the best thing in the world, right? It replaced that cassette.
That cassette tape. Yeah.
And you were able to get to the next song without having to rewind
and fast forward.
Fast forward. So moving from all of these different iterations of what it means to receive what we have now, it goes a long way. But, just watching AI come on very strong, man of God, woman of God, you would be surprised at how much of a blessing that it is. And I'm a new person. I'm only about 2 months in to really using AI as a tool. And I found it to be an amazing blessing.
Yeah. And there are many tools out there that are AI driven that can revolutionize efficiency.
Yes.
As a person who learns differently or discovered that I learned differently through the use of technology, and as technology tools came around, having AI as a colleague of mine calls it a thought partner.
Yes.
Having it as a partner has helped even for myself, who studying for hours at a time is a challenge compared to how AI can make it much more functional with the opportunities to help with how a person thinks and helping them in the space that otherwise in a traditional way may be challenging. So, for ministry leaders, pastors, definitely, as you mentioned, it certainly is a blessing. It's a tool, and it's going to continue to evolve.
Right.
And even though it can be scary, it is here to stay.
Yeah, and becoming an expert, if you will, on it goes a long way. And I use the word expert loosely, but educating yourself on what it is, what to use and what not to use. That's just important in every way of life, every walk of life. There are tools that you should use and tools that you should stay away from. Understanding that even as relates to AI, because some things will market itself as the most helpful thing in the world, and they are trying to cost your information and use it for themselves. But that's with everything. There is nothing in this world. There's always a contrary environment that will use it for the wrong reasons. Same thing with your cell phone. How many spam calls do you get a day? And I kind of it's funny about that bridge, because we have, cell groups or class leader systems in our church. And it used to be a time where you can call the church and get the information, or a person would join the church and you can share the information, and it was just fine. That's not so much anymore. Now even in technology, you have to opt in to your information being shared. You have to opt into that. Without that, that's a problem. So I kind of hit a wall there with trying to explain that to our people, that yes, it's a beautiful thing to have all of these people joining the church, but we can't just give you their information. We can't just give you their address. Yeah. They have to opt into that, to their information being shared in this year. And that has been a challenge, because we were so used to it. We don't want to do nothing. Well, you don't want to do nothing contrary, but you would be surprised at how many do.
You'd be surprised. Gone are the days you can call the church and say, well, give me Sister Sookie Wookie's number. I want to call her.
They're on the sick list.
They're on the sick list. Yeah. So, and with best practices of technology, another area that many ministries struggle, or pastors struggle with, having a sense of caution around, or having apprehension around, is social media. And using that as a tool. And I know with the work that you've done, you've used social media in a very healthy way to help promote your ministry, to draw people in. So what are some best practices that you found that help your ministry? I know we talked about viral videos, but even around that, just on a weekly basis, keeping people connected with what's happening at the church.
Well, making it okay for the individual. If I may have 100 people in Bible study, I have 1,000 of them online. Making it okay for the individual not to drive and not beating them across the head because they didn't drive to come into the building. Did you get the word? Is it blessing your life? really making sure that we instill in the people, again, to use it as a tool and not a replacement.
Yeah.
I think the same is true as it relates to, as I mentioned before, staying out of the comment section. People are rough. There is a such thing as a troll. And trolls are simply there to try to create contrary environments. We cannot live. For every tire, there is a nail. For every airplane, there is turbulence. There is nothing in this world that doesn't have a contrary environment associated
Some
with
type of
it.
agitation.
Every single thing.
Yes.
Everything. There is nothing without it. Because of that, it's important that we know that in social media, do not let the contrary environment stop you using it from a powerful perspective. It's there. It's there for you to use. Everybody's going to look. Everybody's going to watch. Again, some people are not always watching for the right reasons. How many times have we, this is why I don't go to church. This is why I don't go to church now. There's a couple of viral things that happened even this past week. This is why I don't go to church. You weren't going anyway.
If you really wanted to go, you wouldn't let that stop you.
If you really wanted to go, you wouldn't let that stop you. But shout out to the men and women of God out there that are in uncomfortable spaces, learning uncomfortable things, but don't want to be lost in the shuffle. Because again, it gets old quick. You have to know that. But there's also an understanding that there's nothing new under the sun. That music is coming back now. Those old hand clappers, everybody was going towards something else because the hand clappers wasn't working anymore. Guess what we're back to now?
The hand clappers.
Hand clappers.
We may have a different spin on it.
Different spin.
But it's still the same thing.
That's right. We will hand clap, we will foot stomp, and we are in those places. So again, CCM and gospel, that's a whole nother conversation. But at the end of the day, we're right back to it. Yeah. We're right back to it.
And I think what plays a role in that is that social media live streaming has played a role in ensuring that ministries that would not be able to be seen. I think contemporary worship played a role when mega churches arose, and that was in many cities. That's where college students, that's all they had as an option.
That's right.
But now I can watch my church back home as a freshman in college and still stay connected to the ministry.
That's right.
That I
I'm trying to find that, even if I do go in person, I want to find the one that's closest to what I feel to be true. Yeah. What I connect with the most.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. And one thing I've noticed about your ministry, which I think is still as important, in addition to the video and the live streaming, photography is still vital.
Yes.
A picture still says 1,000 words. And so I think with the quality of cameras and phones that we have, taking pictures to chronicle the worship experience from people walking in the door until they leave, that's an opportunity also, as people will scroll and glance. They may not watch an entire video or an entire worship service, but they'll see the heart and the pulse of your ministry based on how captive the images are. Yes. So I think that's, vital. And I applaud your ministry for still continuing to do that.
Yes.
So as we bring our conversation to a close, and this is certainly energizing to me with ministry and technology and 21st century ministry, with maintaining a sense of being first class, what would be your takeaway or something that you would advise or want people to leave this conversation with as far as being a first class ministry, no matter their size, no matter where they are, that ministry is in their journey? What would you say is important for a ministry to stay first class?
Well, first of all, big church, small church, the operative word is church. Yeah. The gospel message still has to go out. It has to go out with power, conviction, and with authority. It has to go out and reach the nations. That's what it's designed to do. We were always wrong for keeping the gospel closed in. Wow. We are more correct when we go ye therefore and allow the gospel to do what the gospel does. Please know that the scripture says, and if I be lifted up from the earth, I will draw all men and women unto me. Please know that you will draw all. Here's where we become wrong again, is when you draw all, but you only pick some. Because the gospel is going to draw all when you're doing it the right way. So I believe from a first class perspective is as you draw all, that you receive all, that you love on all, that you understand all. Hopefully I have time to tell this quick story.
Yes.
Very recently we hosted the homegoing celebration of a very prominent rapper here in the city of Atlanta. Well, the church was pungent with the smell of different things.
Sure.
And
draw your own conclusions.
Yeah, draw your own conclusions. It was amazing that our security team, as bags were opened, some people had to turn around and go back to their cars to leave some things in there. It was 2 hours after this homegoing celebration was over, and you can still smell the smell in our sanctuary, even up to my office. I told my team, I told the church that the church doesn't smell like this enough.
Wow.
That if you're really drawing all,
it shouldn't just be fried chicken.
It shouldn't just be fried chicken. You should have a myriad of different things going on, and that you're able to love on and speak to all. Being first class for me, first of all, is exhibiting the love of Jesus Christ. After that, the quality of what you put forth, that there are individuals that study and take time from a production standpoint to make sure that the gospel message is being declared with quality. Guess what? It's okay. It doesn't make it a show just because it's quality. It doesn't make it people say, oh, they're so showy over there. You should have some level of quality in your production.
That's preparation.
That's preparation.
Yeah.
It's no different. What's the point in spending 60 hours on a sermon, but you're preaching it in a bad lit place on a bad microphone, and now you burnt out in a bad camera. You can't get it out. So I just want to encourage my brothers and sisters to pay attention, to give ear to it, and not just cast it off because it's something that you don't understand. Seek to understand it. The Bible says, in all thy getting, get understanding. Seek to understanding. Seek to get it. Oh, I just hire somebody. No, sit down and have a conversation with who you're hiring.
Yes.
Because in a lot of ways, they'll charge you $100,000 for something that they could have charged you $100 for.
And with you having the knowledge, they'll be able to know that you have the knowledge in order to understand.
We can't come just any old kind of way with this guy
yes.
or this lady. So it's important.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Certainly, it has been a blessing to be here for this episode of the First Class Church podcast. Certainly honor, again, the work that you do. Continue in all that you're doing in ministry. And indeed, the best is yet to come.
Praise the Lord. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My brothers and sisters, please make sure that you subscribe to the First Class Church podcast on YouTube. And as you subscribe, be sure to click the bell to stay connected, not only for this episode, but for many more to come. With that being said, God bless you. This is Dr. Timothy Farmer, your techno-evangelist. Faith cometh by hearing, and clear, powerful sound is essential to impactful worship. Check out my new book, Beyond the Soundboard, a practical guide to quality church audio for pastors, leaders, and media teams. Whether you're a pastor seeking better sound for sermons, optimizing your sound system, equipping volunteers, or enhancing virtual worship, this book provides the essential tools and insights you need. Order Beyond the Soundboard today on Amazon or at farmertechgroup.com.